Welcome to the Midnight Club, a deep dive into psychology. Ever found yourself lying awake at night, replaying awkward moments from 10 years ago? Or wondering why your brain suddenly decides to embarrass you at the worst possible time? Well, you're not alone, and you've just found the perfect place to figure it all out. Psychology isn't just about therapy sessions and ink blot tests. It's woven into our daily lives, in the way we fall in love, why we can't stop scrolling on social media, and even how we convince ourselves that one more episode won't hurt. Tonight, we're kicking things off with our very first show. Get ready for mind-blowing insights, surprising experiments that will make you see yourself and the people around you in a whole new way. So grab a coffee, or maybe a midnight snack, settle in, and let's dive deep into the fascinating world of psychology.
Today, we are going to look at something that I think is super relevant to just about everyone. And that is how couples maintain, that spark, that passion in long-term relationships. And we've got two really interesting studies that kind of turn the whole idea of, finding the perfect match on its head.
Yeah.
They suggest that having a satisfying sex life isn't just about initial compatibility, but it's more about your mindset as a couple and how you kind of approach those inevitable challenges that come up.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting here is that it really highlights how powerful our beliefs can be. Especially when we're talking about something as personal and frankly as vulnerable as long-term intimacy.
For sure. So let's jump right in. This first study is fascinating. It looks at, that thing that a lot of couples experience, especially, women in long-term relationships, a dip in passion over time. And it connects that experience with two different beliefs that couples can hold.
Right. The study calls them sexual growth belief and sexual destiny belief. And essentially, the first one is all about believing that, effort is key to keeping that spark alive. Whereas the second one is more rooted in this idea that compatibility is kind of predetermined.
Yeah, so it's we can work on this together versus it's either there or it's not.
Exactly.
Which honestly, the second one just sounds like setting yourself up to give up easily.
Right. Totally. So imagine this. The researchers followed 97 couples dealing with clinically low desire in women for a full year.
Wow.
And they tracked, their beliefs, their satisfaction levels, and how they dealt with any issues that came up. And guess what? Couples with that growth belief reported way higher satisfaction, both sexually and in their relationships overall.
Okay, so believing you can work on things together actually leads to a better experience. I mean, I guess that makes sense, but it's still really cool to see the research back it up.
Absolutely. And it's not even just about, feeling happier. It's about the way these couples actually handled challenges. They saw these dips in desire not as a sign of failure, but as a chance to kind of learn and grow together.
Yeah, instead of freaking out, it's okay, what's going on here? How can we adapt and reconnect?
Exactly.
Which is so much healthier than assuming the relationship is doomed if you don't just magically align perfectly at all times.
Right.
But wait. Didn't you say something about the impact of those beliefs weakening over time? Does that mean they become less important as the relationship goes on?
Yeah, well, it's not that they become less important. It's more that other factors also come into play. I think of it this way. Those initial beliefs are kind of like the foundation of the house, but you've got to keep building on top of that foundation with communication, understanding, and willingness to adapt to each other's changing needs as you both grow and evolve.
Got it. So it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. Relationships take ongoing effort no matter what your initial belief is.
Exactly. Now, while that first study was all about, those beliefs, the next one we're going to look at dives into how those beliefs actually show up in a couple's behavior, specifically how partners respond to each other's sexual needs.
Interesting. So we're talking about how couples actually deal with those differences in desire. Because let's be real, no two people are perfectly matched in that department all the time.
Precisely. And that's where this concept of sexual responsiveness comes in. This study, which was huge, by the way, 820 participants across multiple studies, really highlights just how crucial responsiveness is for long-term satisfaction.
Okay, break that down for me. What does sexual responsiveness actually look like in a relationship? Paint me a picture.
All right, so imagine you're in a relationship and you're feeling really in the mood, but your partner just isn't feeling it at that moment. A responsive partner would be really attuned to that disconnect.
Okay.
Maybe asking, is everything okay? Are you stressed about work or just tired? Is there anything you need right now to feel more comfortable?
So it's about being present, checking in with your partner's emotional state, and not jumping to conclusions or taking it personally.
Yeah, exactly. And on the flip side, The partner who's not in the mood might say something like, I'm honestly exhausted tonight, but I really appreciate you initiating. How about we just cuddle and connect in a different way? Maybe watch that show we've been talking about.
So it's about compromise and being flexible, remembering that intimacy can take many forms. It doesn't always have to lead to sex.
Right. It's about prioritizing that connection and finding ways to meet each other's needs, even if they don't perfectly align in that moment.
I like that. So this study found that couples who were more responsive, regardless of their initial compatibility, tended to be happier in the long run?
Exactly.
So you're telling me that being a good listener and being adaptable matters more than finding someone who's like your sexual soulmate from the get-go?
It's not that initial attraction and compatibility aren't important. It's just that this research suggests responsiveness plays a much bigger role in long-term satisfaction. And what's really interesting is they found a link between those growth beliefs and responsiveness.
Oh, really?
Yeah, couples who believed they could work through challenges were more likely to actually put in the effort to understand and respond to their partner's needs.
So it's like a self-finishing prophecy. If you believe you can improve things, you're more motivated to try. But what about couples with that destiny belief? How did they tend to react in those mismatched desire situations?
Well, the study found that those couples were much more likely to either withdraw or get defensive. The partner initiating sex might think, see, we're just not compatible. I knew this wouldn't work out.
Right.
And the partner who wasn't in the mood might end up feeling pressured and resentful. It can create this vicious cycle of negativity and blame.
It's like they're looking for evidence to confirm their belief that they're just not meant to be, rather than seeing it as an opportunity to connect and maybe grow closer.
Exactly. And that brings us back to this bigger picture, What if instead of searching for this mythical perfect match, we focused on developing those growth-oriented mindsets and actually practicing responsiveness in our relationships?
It's almost like a paradigm shift, right? From passively hoping to find the one to actively building a fulfilling relationship with someone who's committed to that journey alongside you.
Right. It means recognizing that challenges are inevitable, but they're also opportunities for growth and deeper connection. Think back to those examples we discussed. Those growth-oriented couples, they saw mismatched desire as a chance to communicate and compromise. They adapted. They found other ways to connect.
Yeah, it really is empowering to think that we have more control over our relationship happiness than we realize.
Absolutely. And remember, it's never too late to shift your mindset. Even if you've leaned more towards the destiny belief in the past, you can start cultivating a more growth-oriented approach today. I'm curious, though, what resonated most with you from these studies?
Honestly, what really struck me is how these studies challenge that whole fairy tale notion of finding the one. Like that idea that there's this perfect person out there who will complete you and everything will just magically fall into place.
Yeah, it's definitely a seductive idea, but maybe not the most helpful one.
Right, because in reality, relationships take work. They require effort and understanding and a willingness to adapt. And what I love about these studies is they show that those qualities are way more important than finding someone who's perfectly compatible with you from the start.
It's about choosing to grow together, not just hoping you happen to stumble upon the right person.
Exactly. And it's so empowering because it means we're not just passive players in our own love lives. We actually have the power to shape the kind of relationship we want by cultivating the right mindset and putting in the effort.
And it's not just about romantic relationships, is it? Think about all the important relationships in your life. Friendships, family dynamics, even work relationships. Don't those same principles apply?
That's such a good point. Imagine approaching all your relationships with that growth mindset and a commitment to responsiveness. What kind of impact could that have? I mean, if you're willing to put in the effort to understand and adapt to the people in your life, wouldn't that lead to stronger, more fulfilling connections overall?
It certainly invites that possibility. It's a shift from focusing on finding the perfect people to becoming a better person for the people in your life.
I love that. So instead of searching for someone who checks all the boxes, it's more about choosing someone who's willing to grow and evolve alongside you.
Precisely. And remember, it's not about being perfect or never having disagreements. It's about how you handle those inevitable bumps in the road. Seeing challenges as opportunities to learn, communicate, and deepen your connection.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty inspired to put these insights into practice. What's one small step you think our listeners could take today to cultivate that growth-oriented approach in their own relationships?
It could be as simple as starting a conversation with their partner, a friend, or even a family member about these ideas. Share what you've learned and see if it resonates with them. It could be an opportunity to check in with each other and see if you're on the same page about how you view challenges and growth in your relationship.
Like a relationship checkup.
Exactly.
And even if you're not ready to have, a full-blown conversation about growth mindsets, you could simply start practicing more active listening in your interactions, Really try to understand the other person's perspective, even if you don't agree with it.
Yeah, those small steps can make a world of difference. Remember, building a fulfilling relationship is an ongoing process. It's about showing up every day with intention and a willingness to learn and grow alongside the people you care about.
All right, knowledge seekers, that wraps up our deep dive into the power of beliefs and responsiveness in relationships. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and are feeling inspired to create even more meaningful connections in your own life. Until next time.